Hello and welcome back to the Happy Project channel, and I just want to talk about the Eric Cannon and AJ Styles' son situation. Look, okay, so for those who don't know why I've got a vested interest in this is because I am a professional wrestler. I mean, I'm not active on any roster at the moment just due to injuries and all that stuff, but I feel like I've got some valid things to agree and disagree with, and I just thought let's just put the boots back on and dive into the situation at hand. For those who would be like, why do you have a vested interest? Why should we care about what you have to say? You're not in the WWE, and well, yeah, you're right, but also I've got a camera and recording equipment and I'm gonna make a fucking video about it, so go cry me a river. I couldn't find the actual Twitter thread, and I'm calling it Twitter, not X, because I refuse to call it X because it's cringe. And obviously this has sparked from this Eric Cannon guy, and I've been looking at his Twitter as of late. I mean, I can like put it in the background here, and it's all like, it's pretty cringe, it's pretty cringe with what he's doing. And I've been around people in the wrestling industry that is exactly like this gentleman right here and it's for either good or bad, and I can say it because I have 8 to 9 years experience in wrestling. All right, so it's not like I just got off wrestling training, like I have been on shows. I wrestled every single week last year. All right, so like I put a lot of myself in wrestling for me to really talk about this. So, yes, I'm not in the WWE, I've never been to Japan and all that stuff, but I do understand wrestling and I get it. So take that what you will. All right, so the Twitter thread has been grouped together for us because I didn't want to go digging into Twitter to find it, by Wrestling News on Twitter. So it says here that AJ Styles and Eric Cannon argued publicly whether Styles' son, Avery, should have helped with setup at GCW's show in Minneapolis over the SummerSlam weekend. To be honest with you, I haven't watched wrestling in so long, I didn't even know SummerSlam happened. If you guys want me to talk more wrestling stuff, let me know. I would definitely like to share some wrestling, either advice or stories and all that jazz. Anyway, so it started with Natalya speaking to the Wrestling Classic during a SummerSlam media junket. She praised Avery Styles and Marcus Mathers for their match at GCW's Rude Awakening, which she attended, saying she would love to get Avery into the dungeon and that he wants to pay his dues. Fightful posted the quote on Twitter. Cannon, a Minneapolis native with more than 20 years experience in the business, responded, as someone who's watched this kid skirt away from helping with a single thing at this show, I'd like to say L-O fucking L. Alright, so obviously this guy is not very happy with the etiquette that AJ Styles' son Avery has brought to the show, I guess. And alright, so obviously this guy's already starting shit, and we'll continue reading. So Styles quote tweeted him, "He was paid to wrestle at GCW, not help you put up and take down the ring. That sounds like your job. You just sound like a jealous douche." From what I'm seeing, you've got a lot of wrestlers all over the world that's got 20 plus years experience in whatever, and a lot of them feel like it's something they can use to kind of make themselves feel more important than they really are, which is something you see in every fucking wrestling show, promotion, whatever. In any wrestling promotion, you're gonna always run into people like this, and I don't personally know who this Eric Cannon guy is, right? But obviously him saying that he's a 20-year experience veteran, it just means that you just know more about the business. And also, I've been around people in the wrestling that has 20 years experience and they just wrestle like as if they just left a wrestling academy like a week ago. So I don't know Eric Cannon that well, but from AJ Styles' response saying that his son was paid to wrestle at a show and setting up the show and all that stuff, it sounds like a him problem. That is also something that I'm a bit on the fence with, right? Like AJ Styles, arguably, no, not arguably, AJ Styles is one of the GOATs in professional wrestling and one of the best to ever do it. I loved watching AJ Styles. I did stop watching WWE probably 2011 and then 2016, I believe. That's when AJ Styles came to the WWE, and that's when I, really take a liking to AJ. I did watch him in TNA and a little bit of New Japan, but because of AJ Styles, I started getting back into the WWE, like getting back into watching WWE. Kind of how I'm interpreting what AJ Styles is saying is that, he's been with the big leagues for so long that they've got contracts and all that stuff, and pretty much in the contract to say that he's paid to wrestle. So I think because AJ's been away from the independent scene for so long, he kind of forgets how niche professional wrestling really is. Well, in Australia, it's pretty niche. I'm not sure how it is in America. Maybe they do have a ring crew, right? But from my experience with Australian wrestling, we don't, right? A lot of wrestling promotions in Australia runs at a loss, and the last thing on a wrestling promotion's mind is to pay for ring crew. And a lot of the people that do set up for wrestling shows are the wrestlers themselves, right? For my experience wrestling with Mayhem Pro and very few shows with PCW, whenever they had big events and all that stuff, everyone had to be hands on deck to tear down the ring, load it into the truck, take it to the venue, unload the truck, set the ring up, set the chairs up. Like, all that is done by the wrestlers, right? Because in Australia, because it's not as big as, like I said, I've never wrestled in America. I don't know what the culture is like, but in every wrestling show or every wrestling promotion I've been a part of, all the wrestlers were the ones that would help set the show up within reasons. I mean, we do have the occasional veteran to show up as of like 20 minutes before doors open and all that stuff, but that's not for me to critique because, I probably would have done the same thing too. But the thing about ring crew in Australia wrestling, where all the wrestlers are setting the ring up and all that, that's more for paying your dues, right? Like, understand how much work gets put into setting up a whole venue for a wrestling show for you to really appreciate wrestling. And that's what my takeaway from it is. So that's why I'm not sure if it's because AJ's been so far away from the indie scene that he kind of forgets that that's how it really is. That's the view I'm coming from. So let's just continue. Cannon answered, "I have all the respect in the world for you, AJ. I understand why you defend your son, and it's admirable." Wow, this guy just sounds like a fucking Redditor, man. Like a Reddit moderator. I just hate just that fucking attitude, man. It just sounds bitter, and it sounds like, we'll continue reading and then I'll share what it really sounds like. But the fact remains, he can stay AJ's kid, continue to skirt responsibilities and paying dues, or he can earn the respect of his peers and stand on his own as Avery. Alright. Look, I understand where he's coming from, where obviously if shit needs to get done pre-show, like before the show, shit needs to get done, if the chairs aren't put out, if the certain stuff in the ring isn't like set up properly, by the time of the show, shit's just gonna hit the fan and it's not gonna be good for anybody, which is, I totally understand. But just his attitude and just the way he's like wording this tweet, he's obviously doing it to start shit, man. Like, and it's really I'm trying to look out for the little guy, but at the same time, he's throwing jabs at Avery, which is like, come on, man. If you're a 20-year-old veteran, why are you bringing this on Twitter? So AJ Styles then continued to say, "You don't ask someone to have dinner at your house and have them do the dishes. He was asked to wrestle at GCW. Although grateful for the opportunity, a vet would have talked to him professionally or at least face to face," which is 100% right on AJ's part, right? Like, if he really did have an issue with Avery, he should have just talked to him, But they kind of did say that a 20+ year vet and promoter asked him to help with chairs twice. Instead of helping, he hid in the locker room until everything was done. Look, if that was the case, then yeah, that's no good. I personally wouldn't like it, because every show that I've been a part of, I've always tried my best to help. My 2 cents isn't going to affect his future, but with all due respect, you stating he doesn't need to help is only doing him a disservice. I do agree with both sides to an extent. Obviously, AJ's coming from somebody that's been in the big leagues, and his son is getting into wrestling, and his son's only young as well, 19 years old, and he looks pretty good. He looks the part. He doesn't have shit gear, and I think he's gonna do really well in wrestling. And I agree that not paying your dues is going to do a disservice to him, but at the end of the day, it's AJ Styles' son. The way most wrestling promotions do it is if you're gonna draw tickets, right? So like, people come to a wrestling show, they see that, look, it's AJ Styles' son. Obviously that's gonna sell tickets, right? Like, if you're gonna throw like this Eric Cannon guy on a poster compared to AJ Styles, you're not there to pay for this Eric Cannon guy. You're there for AJ Styles' son, which is unfortunately how it is with how most wrestling promotions are. Just the fact that this is even being put on Twitter, it's kind of infuriating to an extent, because I know so many people like Eric Cannon in Australian wrestling that has the same attitude with everything, and it's just it kind of makes the locker room a little bit toxic to an extent, right? Like, I understand, yes, pay your dues and all that. I'm 100% all about that. But the fact that you're bringing this to a public, like on social media, like Twitter, it doesn't really do good for anybody, because yeah, like as of right now, looking at all his Twitter and all that stuff, you can tell he's acting like a fucking child, where he's like showing all these analytics, he's showing all these like gifts, obviously trying to rage bait, right? Because you get engagement that way, and I guess he's just following the footstep of Eric Bischoff, where controversy create cash. But man, like, social media is such a different beast, and the fact that you putting this out there, it doesn't really do anything for wrestling as a whole. Like, you're airing out dirty laundry for people that didn't know anything about it. Now they're brought to light, and then now you're trying to, I guess, throw dirt on AJ Styles, right? Which is like, obviously AJ Styles the more popular wrestler, the biggest star here, and you're obviously trying to rage bait, because clearly, if this was a genuine issue, it wouldn't have gone to social media. You would have talked to him face to face. But because you brought it to social media and now people are talking about it, you're obviously rage baiting people into defending AJ Styles. And I guess in wrestling, I guess in this case, you're just playing the heel. You're just constantly shit posting and like, I get it. I get, you're 20 years experience and you're seeing the younger people coming in, probably overpassing you, overtaking your career. And obviously you're probably bitter about it, but taking it to social media isn't the way to go. The way to think about it is, what does this actually do for the promotion, right? Let's just say use GCW, for example, because this is where the problem is stemmed from. What did this do for GCW? Did you bringing this to social media bring more tickets to GCW, or is it just more for people being like, oh, this sounds like an unorganized promotion, it's not worth our money, right? You do that, okay, that's great. You lost tickets for a promotion. Now you've got more heat with a promotion. Now they're not going to book you anymore. And because they're not going to book anymore because you decided to bring this to social media, you've lost potential booking. And for a 20-year veteran, you probably should have already known that, right? The fact that you brought it onto social media, you may have drawn away ticket sales for future shows. So the promotion's going to lose out money. You're going to lose a potential booking spot. And for what? Just for Twitter engagement? It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, like if you had a problem with Avery Styles, the way his locker room etiquette is, just bring him up on it. Talk to him face to face. It doesn't need, shit like this doesn't need to be put on social media because it doesn't do anything for wrestling as a whole. And yeah, that's just the way I see it. And obviously, from looking at this Eric Cannon's Twitter, he's trying to ride the coattail of him rage baiting or of this story, because if you can see all over his social media, it's just him rage baiting, and it just doesn't look good on him. I guess this is what happens when you're related to my dad, Carlo Cannon. Avery is going to be alright. His dad's AJ Styles. He just needs to, do more shows, understand the craft a little bit more, and, he's obviously going to be making mistakes. But, he's only 19 and he's wrestling. I believe I read somewhere he only had like 5 matches under his belt, which is impressive. And also it just means that, I don't know if it's because of nepotism and all that, but maybe he just works harder than everyone else. I mean, if you look at photos of him, he's got the look, he's got good gear. I don't know what his promos are like, but as long as you got 2 of the 3 pillars to be a superstar, I guess he's got it mostly on TikTok. If you guys want me to talk more about that, I will probably do it in another video. But anyways, yeah, this just didn't really do anything for professional wrestling, especially indie wrestling, because it's so niche. And to just bring this to social media, it doesn't do anything for anyone. And I doubt this Eric Cannon guy is going to be booked anywhere else if he's going to just be a heat magnet. So anyways, that's all I've got for this video today. I will catch you guys in the next video. I guess like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Comment down below what your thoughts on the situation is. And with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.